Can you tell me, why do you have Airbnbs and how do they support you?
Um, why do I have them? Well, I've always loved, working from home and, um, being in Southern Utah, it just seemed like a good opportunity to start and maintain a home-based business. I do a few other things from my home office. I'm also a design engineer, and so I do consulting that way. And it's just been great being able to have, a home-based business. And actually, the revenue from my Airbnbs has actually become the largest part of my livelihood. So it's a big support.
Wow, that's wonderful that I can do that. Um, so when did the city enforcement start contacting you?
Well, I was contacted a few years ago, actually, by the previous city planner, Stephen Nelson. And immediately upon receiving his notification, I went into his office and we resolved everything. But then he left his position and to go to a new job up in northern Utah. And since then, this last January, I was sent another violation from the current code enforcement officer, Fred Resch. And I immediately called him and we talked about things as well. And it seemed that things were resolved. But then he sent me a second notification of violations, and I just didn't agree with the violations that he was putting into his notifications. And so it's come to a point where we are actually coming up in on January 15th, the city is holding a hearing to possibly revoke my residential hosting business license that I've had for 10 years.
How do you feel about the city's approach to your property?
I feel that the city is um, I feel like they're cracking down in favor of the larger developments that they have allowed, and and I'm actually not sure why, uh, but many of us, I'm in a community of Airbnb hosts here locally, and many of us are feeling like the city is unlawfully cracking down on us in favor of the larger developments.
How has the development impacted your business?
The current city's administration has allowed an immense amount of development come in, and it's being way overdeveloped, and the city's being way overdeveloped with vacation rental properties, and that unfortunately is spreading the business very thin amongst everybody who is in the transient uh, tourism business, hotels, Airbnbs, PUD developments that house these tourists. The business is being, because of the overdevelopment, the business is being spread very thin, and it's hurting everybody in the industry.
What do you feel is the importance of having this industry in the town?
I think it's really important. I've been here in Hurricane for 15 years. I've been doing Airbnb for 10 years, and um, you know, Hurricane City is known as kind of the gateway to Zion. And, in the last 10 years, there's been a lot of tourism developing within the city, a lot of events, out at Sand Hollow State Park, and a lot of local things, just even outside of Zion National Park. So I think it's important. There are a lot of people, all over the country, all over the world who want to come and see, this beautiful area. And so I think it's really important that the city, you know, is in favor of tourism and whatnot. But I think that they need to act with fairness for the previously established businesses like ours.
What do you feel is the public perception of Airbnbs and from the community? And what would you say to someone who maybe is not in favor of having Airbnbs?
I think most of those people who are not in favor of it probably don't. I think that they are responding without much experience. I've been hosting out of my home for 10 years now, and to my knowledge, I haven't had a single neighbor complain about my Airbnb activities. In fact, one of my neighbors, um, he moved in and for 6 years, he didn't even know I was doing Airbnb out of my home, especially with the residential hosting. People who are owner occupied Airbnb hosts, those Airbnbs are almost never a problem because the owner is on site at all times.
What is it about this ordinance specifically that you think kind of makes it difficult for your business?
Well, this ordinance, the recent change to the ordinance, well, it was early in 2023 that they changed the language of the ordinance or added another subsection to it, which basically it greatly restricted uh, the owner-occupied Airbnb hosts. Previously, the ordinance allowed Airbnb hosts uh, to rent multiple bedrooms to multiple travelers, multiple parties simultaneously. And the new language prohibits that. And so it is, the people that is affecting, which, the businesses that have been previously established, they shouldn't have to conform to those new changes because the Utah law that talks about non-conforming use or grandfathering allows us to continue our previous business practices. But I feel like the city has unlawfully um, kind of bullied people into conforming to that new ordinance language. And because of that, their bookings have gone down considerably.
What do you want to see done by the city, not just for yourself, but anyone in this industry?
Well, I think the city probably should have done a little bit more research into just how much vacation rental properties we need um, before allowing so much development to come in. And so in the future, I hope that they pay more attention to that, do a little bit more research, because, as I said, they've allowed so much overdevelopment that um, the transient hosting of tourists, that business is now spread among so many people, and it's really hurting everybody in the business, not just Airbnb hosts, but it's hurting the hotels, it's hurting the developments that have come in. Everybody is scrambling for that business, and I just don't we none of us think it was fair for the city to do that. Uh, and I personally, it just in talking to other hosts and other people in the industry, I believe that that's why the current administration lost in this recent election.
You touched on this a little bit since that Facebook post. Have you had people reach out with similar experiences?
Many, yeah, dozens of people. And recently, one of the action items that I'm doing for Airbnb's council is I recently requested grandma reports from the city to produce the names and owners of um, residential hosting business license holders going back to 2015 and all of the violations that they've sent out. So as we comb through those, I'm sure that we will have many more people interested.
You showed me the screenshot of the laughing emoji from the code enforcement officer. What does that say to you?
Yeah, that's pretty egregious. You've got a code enforcement officer here that I believe that, and a lot of us believe that he is acting unlawfully, that he is probably acting beyond the power that he's been given, and it's hard to tell that whether or not he's doing that of his own accord or if he's been instructed to do that by the administration of the city. Um, but for me to post about people suffering financially because of this, and then to have the code enforcement officer of Hurricane City go on and post a laughing emoji to that. I mean, so he's basically laughing in the face of people's financial struggles that the city is creating.
Can you share with me that sentiment you said earlier of kind of you're members of the community and some of these developers aren't necessarily, kind of the balance between those two groups?
I'm sorry, say that one more time.
You shared with me a sentiment of you were saying how like you live here and pay taxes and developers don't necessarily. Could you share with that with me one more time?
Sure. Yeah, we just a lot of the local, so Airbnb hosts, especially the ones who are residential hosts or owner occupied, Airbnbs. We live here, we vote here, and we feel that the city is making a concerted effort to take our business away and give it to the large developers that are coming in from out of town or out of state. And we just don't think that the current administration has our interests in mind, and I think that that's why we saw the results that we did during this last election.
And then lastly, can you tell me a little bit about the lawsuit and goals of that? And did you think it was going to come to that?
So I reached out to, Airbnb is involved with various lawsuits around the country, around the world, trying to protect people's rights to operate their Airbnb businesses. And so I reached out to Airbnb directly to their lead counsel, and they showed interest in talking to me about possibly developing a lawsuit against the city. So I've had quite a lot of communication with them. I had a Zoom meeting with them Tuesday of this week, and they gave me a list of action items to put together to get back to them. So we'll see how that develops.